You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you but doesn't judge you at least not as harshly as the rest of the world, because you're here trying to make yourself better. Damn it, we're all here trying to make ourselves better. Even me. I get a front row of these seats. I swear to God, I learn more from my wonderful guests, the brilliant minds we have on this show. Because number one, I'm half an idiot. Number two, you always got to be learning, growing, changing, developing, evolving. Because if not, you're going to end up, just brain dead. And I've seen some of you folks on X, so knock it off. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing young man on the show. We'll get into his book and some of the insights that he has. But in the meantime, we have to guilt and shame you to refer to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. Let's see. Chris Voss, one of the TikTok and all those crazy places on the interwebs up in the skyages, as they say. That's not what they say. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Anyway, we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking to him about his excellent new book and some of the things he's doing to change the life of pets and animals. We have Dr. Jeff Feinman on the show with us today. His book is coming out next year, February 10th, 2026. Clearly I'm in 2022 still. So 2026, you can pre-order it now. His book is entitled Path to Pet Wellness, a holistic vet's guide to thriving pets and empowered pet parents. We're going to it and some of the other wonderful work that he does as well, and talk about how you can have your pet live a better life, because that's what we're all after. And I'm sure we're going to share some wonderful stories about all the stuff that goes into it as well. Mr. Doctor, go ahead and let's see here. You are an innovative holistic veteran and founder of Holistic Actions. You're a 1985 dual degree graduate from the University of Pennsylvania and its first veteran university scholar. You combine your background in molecular biology with 40 years of experience in veterinary medicine, homeopathy, and energy healing. He specializes in empowering pet parents to work with symptoms rather than against them by simple, sustainable targets rooted in science, nature, and love. Welcome to the show, Dr. Feinman. How are you?
Hello, Chris, and it's Jeff, please. So thank you.
Thank you. And give us your .coms. Where do you want people to get to know you better on the interwebs?
Thank you for asking. And I only have one, and that is holisticactionswithness.com. So holisticactions.com.
So give us a 30,000 overview of what's in this new book. And then, of course, we have the website we're going to be talking about today, where you help people with expert guidance on their pets.
Well, 30,000 foot view is that we're taught that we have to work against the body, against life, against the flow with antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, or against. Holistic Actions is all about the opposite, which is about working with the flow, going with love, energy. And that may actually be the biggest distinction, is that energetic piece, because life is all about energy. Mm-hmm. We're alive because our cells have mitochondria, which produce the energy that we need to live. We don't learn about that stuff in vet school. We learn about symptoms. We learn about diseases. We learn about how to manage. It's not about managing. It's about transforming and transcending, which you, the pet parent, you are all ready to do, and you can do.
And so you have the book that's coming out next year, and so I think a lot of people are can order that up on Amazon. Path to Wellness: The Holistic Vet's Guide. Tell us about this website you have, holisticactions.com, and the membership where people can utilize, I guess, an online forum, webinars, resources, discounts on products, and monthly guidance with calls and stuff like that. Tell us about that.
Sure. Holistic Actions is actually the place people go to learn the framework that we talk about in the book, which is actually based on the energetic framework of homeopathy, Ayurveda, and just life, just observation of life. So what we do at Holistic Actions is help transform our pet parent community into empowered pet parents that know how to help their pets before they go to the vet. So when we're not trying to replace the vet, we're just trying to augment what we learned in vet school, what the vets are going to tell you ordinarily. Because when we go to the vet, we only get a little piece of the whole bigger picture. We don't get that 30,000-foot view.
Yeah. And do you find a lot of veterinarians? I mean, how long have you been a veterinarian?
40 years this year.
40 years. Wow. That's a long time. Good for you. Do you find that a lot of vets are into holistic medicine or holistic helping of dogs? Is this something that is very popular among the vet community?
That's a great question, and it's growing. But you know why it's growing? It's growing because the people like you, that the consumer, the pet parent, are asking your vet questions about holistic medicine, about fresh food feeding, about homeopathy, about Reiki, and about things that vets don't know about. So that's why Holistic Actions is in existence, is that those conventional vets that don't know about these things can work with their clients at Holistic Actions. And all of our members have local vets, most of which are holistic vets.
And is the membership that you guys are offering and the advisory, does it help empower consumers to be able to talk better with their vets, to advocate better for their pets?
That's a huge part of what we do. In fact, I don't know if you include links in your show notes, but we have a link, an article that is designed just for that. What to ask, what to look for, and
That's really important. I've had 4 dogs now, 4 huskies, and I've learned with the veterinarians that you have to, there were some cases where they had different things where I was taking the 3 different veterinarians to triple check, what I was being told. And sometimes I was being told, one thing by one vet, another thing by another vet, and another thing by a third vet. And, you have to advocate for your animal. It's just really important. Do you have any examples or stories maybe of people that you've seen where maybe they had a bad diagnosis or whatever, a misdiagnosis, and holistic medicine was able to help them?
Oh my goodness. I have so many. Can you narrow it down? Do you want to?
Well, just one maybe comes to mind that was kind of extraordinary, or, just any, really. Well, I might be able to help you if you, I'll tell you my story.
Yeah, my mind is like all over the place. I think perhaps, the most common, because, it happens a lot, and the most common is, an animal is diagnosed as being allergic to a particular food or a pollen or a flea or whatnot. And the problem is actually rather in the immune balance of the individual. And when that immune balance is addressed, the allergy goes away, resolved altogether. Yeah, and they become totally 100% able to tolerate those allergens. And I'll give you a quick misdiagnosis, but it's human. It's myself. I mean, the way I discovered homeopathy is my lifelong allergies. I have celiac disease. I'm allergic to dogs and cats and horses. And
what?
Yeah, that's
You're allergic to all that? You're a vet?
That's comes on drugs. I was on medications the whole time. Yeah.
Wow.
Almost died, but no, not the story. But when I discovered this energy paradigm decades after vet school, when I started reading more and learning more about this, I started experimenting on myself. And when I did, my allergies went away.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it's now been 40 years. I'm not on medications. You don't see, the smegma out of my nose or eyes or sneezing. And yeah.
We'll go. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you found a way to fix that. Was it diet? Was it a holistic sort of diet that you needed? You need to change some of the things you're putting into your body. Was that an aspect of it?
That was part of it for sure, but it was mainly homeopathy. Homeopathy is a way of working with the clues that the body gives. So symptoms are clues that the body gives you that something's wrong, and you can use those symptoms homeopathically. By definition, homeopathic is working with pathology, working with the symptoms, versus antipathy or allopathy, which is what we learn about in vet school.
Mm-hmm. And so you were able to transpose that data that you learned from healing your allergens to helping pets holistically. Is that correct?
That is correct. When I realized that, that my allergies were gone and my being was improving, we can talk about what that means. But when I learned about that in spring, by fall, I was in the professional course given by Dr. Richard Pitkin, who was one of the pioneers of holistic medicine. And I never looked back. That was about 26 years ago, and I never have looked back since then. My only mission in life is just to inform people that there is a way that works together with what we learn in vet school, but it goes above and beyond what we learn in vet school, what you're going to hear from most and many veterinarians.
Oh, I have a few stories myself from my dogs. My dog one time had stopped eating, and she was drinking like a fish. So she had the cancer was trying to calcify her blood and destroy her organs, and there was a small bump on the back of her butt, and they're huskies, so they run around with their tails curled up, so you have to look at their butts all day. I think they're trying to send a message that they hate me. Anyway, so they were just mooning me all day. So I took her into the vet, and the vet went in there and he's like, your dog's got a lot of polyps inside of her. There was one kind of growing on the outside. I didn't realize what it was. It was small at the time. And she goes, she has anal sac cancer. And she stopped eating because that's what dogs do when in the wild. They stop eating, they go dig a hole away from the tribe, and they starve and pass away. And he goes, so what I want you to do is bring your dog back in 3 days, and we'll call it. Go spend 3 quality days with your dog and take some pictures and stuff, that wrap. And I was destroyed. So I went home, and short story, I basically realized, it kind of came to me as an epiphany that, like, if she has a 3-day death sentence, maybe there's something I can do. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to try. I don't know, but I'm going to try. So I got on the internet, started Googling stuff, and fairly quickly I found a guy whose dog had cancer, and he put the dog on a raw diet, what they call a raw diet, which is high fat, no sugar diet. And there's so much sugar in their foods and these stupid treats we give them, and just crap when it really comes down to it. And so he put dogs, and he was helping other dogs. He put them on a high fat diet and cut off all the sugar, and they would live, and he would extend their lives. And so I talked to some friends, I talked to some people, and a couple people like, I don't know, Chris, and I'm like, she's already got a death. She's already gonna die in 3 days, with which the vet wants. I mean, what do I have to lose? What does she have to lose? She's got life. She's won the lottery in the universe. Who am I to take that away from her? So she had stopped eating, wasn't eating at all, and so he recommended giving her either the highest fat meat you could do, which is sardines, or the high fat 27% hamburger roll that you can get, that gross hamburger roll at the store. And so I started feeding her that, and she suddenly started eating like a pig. Like she would eat just like there was no tomorrow. I'm like, well, this is an interesting sign. And so I called the doctor after 3 days, and I go, she's eating again. We're eating this meat. He goes, oh, you're gonna kill her liver and her kidney. You're gonna wipe out what's left of her calcified organs. You're gonna kill your dog faster. She's gonna be tortured by, having all that fat, and her organs aren't up to par. And you're just making things miserable for your dog. Come on, man. And I said to him, well, I don't know. We're going to see how far this goes. We're going down this rabbit hole because she's eating now. And so she lived on a raw diet and ate like a pig, high fat raw meat for 1 year and 3/4. And we would take her in, and the doctors were shocked every time she was still alive. And they're like, every time you come in, we think you're going to bring in an emaciated dog that we got to make the final call on because she's not eating, or she's riddled with cancer. And the cancer did grow on her anal sac. I had to look at that, unfortunately. But she lived 1.5 years. And the only thing that really killed her in the end was the combination of the anal sac cancer and arthritis. The last 3 days, she couldn't get up off the floor and was dragging around. And she lived 16 years. So we got a lot of mileage out of a husky. But she lived her best life for 1.5 years, living high on the hog, eating like a queen, and was bouncy and happy. And, other than being tired, old, and having cancer, I mean, she had a pretty good end life. And, that's an example of just advocating for your dog. I'll let you build off that.
That's a great example. And that's exactly why you need to be an advocate for your dog, because your dog or cat or any animal, them the best, better than any veterinarian will do. And I will just have to say, Chris, that your example is actually something we see a lot.
Wow.
We see that a lot. And what you did inadvertently was, if you remember at the beginning, I mentioned that it's all about energy. It's really all about, mitochondrial function. And that is what optimizes the body's ability to rebalance. What you did inadvertently is you raised that mitochondrial function in 2 ways. One is by increasing the energy or vitality of the diet. Because raw meat diet is the highest vitality diet that you can find. Fresh food is great, but raw food is even better. But compared to commercial processed food, any fresh food will work. But the other thing you did, which may be even more important, is you made her happy.
Oh.
Happiness, sense of purpose.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that.
I mean, why do dogs do well? They live for 3 reasons. They live to eat, play, and love. And eating is a big one. And those 3 factors, to eat, play, and love, are the 3 things that you can do today to upgrade their mitochondrial function and get them to stop vomiting, stop having diarrhea, arrest the cancer. It blows my mind every day to know how much this can do.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Another example was, and I had been taking her to 3 different doctors. My same dog, she had a, what was it? Oh, she, underneath her throat here, she had like this bump that started getting bigger. And I took her to 2 doctors, and they go, "Oh, it's cancer." They go, "Look, your dog's 14 years old. She's a husky. You're in the bonus zone, dude. She's old. Yeah, don't fuck with her. Don't cut her open. Don't do surgery on her. Just put her down and call the ball." And I had 2 doctors telling me to call the ball on it. And they were like, we could spend a lot of money on x-rays, but it's likely cancer given her age. There's, you're just making things miserable for her because we're gonna have to knock her out, drug her. She's 14. One guy just literally said to me, he goes, "Look, dude, you got 14 years out of this dog." He goes, "What do you want, man?" He goes, you want to make it suffer?" He's a real asshole. And I told him, I was like, well, I don't know. Well, I had a 3rd doctor, and this is the funny thing about homeopathy. Homeopathy. I had this doctor in California, this vet, and he was from China, and he had the worst bedside manner, the worst communication you could ever have, but everybody in town used him because he was good. And he was wild as shit. He'd go in, I'd take my dog in, he'd go like, "Okay, walk her around the lobby." And he had a big lobby. And I'd be like, "What?" And he'd go, "Yeah, walk her around the lobby. I want to see her walk and stuff." And I'd be like, "What the fuck? Don't you want to take her in the back and do whatever you do back there?" And he'd be like, "No, I want to see how she walks and stuff." He was like, this dude was like really into homeopathy. And turns out, and I used them for a bunch of different things. She got a few different cysts. This cyst that this growing thing that cyst or whatever that she had underneath her chin, he kept telling me, he's like, "No, just wait." He goes, "I think I know what it is. Just wait." I'm like, "What the fuck, dude? You don't want it." Like, I got 2 doctors telling me to put her down. I got you telling me to wait, and then everything's gonna be fine. And he was really, really bad with English. You wanted to choke him half the time because he was such an asshole. He came across as such an asshole. But like, even on Yelp, they would write, "Look, he comes across as an asshole, but just go with it. Just trust him." And I'm like, what the fuck? I want to punch this guy in the face half the time because he had the worst bedside manner, and he would just so sharply tell you stuff that you'd just be like, "What the fuck, dude? You couldn't lighten that up?" And so 2 doctors telling me to kill her, 1 doctor telling me to wait. And so I waited and I waited and I waited. And the day before Christmas, I woke up to this blood, and it was pushing out. It was starting to push out her teeth. This thing, it was coming in right here. And she comes to me, and I remember being in bed. She's standing above me, and she's bleeding out the side of her mouth. And so I'm like, "Oh, fuck. All right, we're going to call it. We're going to put her down. All right, this is enough of this. We're done." So I take her into that doc, and he goes, "Oh, this is great." I'm like, "What the fuck?" She's just bled, and it looks like it exploded out the side of her face. I did not really exploded, but there was a hole there. And he goes, "No, this is great." He goes, "What she had just what I thought she had. She had this weird thing where bacteria or cysts had grown between the organs." Oh, that was the other thing. It wasn't responding to penicillin or any other drugs. And the reason it wasn't is because it was this weird thing that can grow between your organs. And so it's not connected to anything. So it doesn't have the ability for like penicillin and shit to get to it. And so what this thing did is it grew out the side of her face. And once it exploded, oxygen was able to get in there. And then, of course, we could give her stuff to kill it and clean up all the stuff. But that's all it was. It was just a cyst that had grown between the organs, and no one had thought of it but this back alley Chinese vet. So that's another example of, you've got to advocate for your dogs and animals and stuff.
Yeah, and that's the empowering part. That the empowering part of what we do and what the book is about. Because you are knowing that there's more to life than what we're being told by 1 vet or 2 vets, or you'll read a story in the book. I think that she saw like a dozen different veterinarians, and it's all second opinions. when what you needed and what you got was a different opinion. And that different opinion is based on a different interpretation of the same facts.
Mm.
And that different opinion, that different interpretation is based on the fact that life is energy. And life is not just about organ function or calcium levels or, that all that stuff is great, but it's all secondary. It's all secondary about energy. I remember years ago, I gave a talk at a vet school in California, and it was called "It's All About Energy." And these vet students are like, really? I mean, we're not taught that, but they were more holistically minded and able to run with the ideas.
That's interesting. So with your book and stuff, what you're doing is you're helping people advocate for their things. Knowing what to ask your doctor is really important because it's overwhelming. You go to see a vet, you trust that they're a doctor who knows what they're doing, and most vets do. They've gone to school for a lot of years, but sometimes what I found is they're kind of locked into that non-holistic sort of throw drugs at it, and if drugs don't work, give her the 3-day death sentence and let's keep on trucking. And, I've had vets argue with me. They're like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And since Abby, who is my dog, who survived all those years with cancer for 1.75 years, I've helped so many dogs. Like I've had friends that had their dogs and their dogs had pretty much liver failure, kidney failure, organ failure. They were pretty much dead. And the doctors, I told them, I said, give her the raw diet. And they would go to the doctors and go, Chris says I should give my dog the raw diet. And they're like, you're going to kill her. That's the fat is going to overwhelm the kidneys and livers. And I've literally using that raw diets. There's nothing complicated about it other than just high fat, no sugar. And I've saved so many dogs with that data. I mean, there were dogs that were pretty much dead with their organ failure. They came back to life with, putting them on a high-fat diet, feeding them food that they would eat in the wild. And, of course, like you talk about that, mitochondria.
Yeah, real food is where it's at. Real food. We know that as humans, the more processed food that we eat, the sicker that we get. So just stick with the fresh food of any sort.
Now, tell us more about how this membership works. You got an online forum. They can sign up. There's a cost to it, but they get weekly webinars. They can get questions answered in a members forum, hundreds of hours of educational videos, insightful ebooks, and all this data. What do you hope to achieve with this, and what will people come away with?
Well, what we hope to achieve is we hope to disrupt the overwhelm of anxiety that all pervasive in the pet community, in the animal community, and disrupt that by instilling an intuitive wisdom that we all really know and we're all able to enact. And what we do at AJ is give you the resources that reframe every organ system, every disease you possibly could ask about in our references, in our resources. So you can go there. And there are, again, as I said, hundreds of hours of videos, webinars and whatnot, text-based text documents about the microbiome, about this and that. But if you want to go beyond that, you can ask any question on our forum. You get one-on-one guidance on what's called a holistic medical decision-making call once a month if you want. And yeah, we have webinars with holistic leaders from around the country, around the world on Mondays.
Oh, wow. On Mondays, you guys bring those people in. And so you're building this up. You've got the book that will be coming out that will be a companion, I suppose, to some of this. And certainly, I imagine your goal is to try and reach more people than you otherwise would with just a veterinary clinic in a city. Is that a good assessment?
You hit the nail on the head.
No.
After 30 years of doing this one-on-one, and this is the story that begins the book. I realized that there's got to be a lot more. We got to get the word out to everyone in the world. I mean, I don't care if you use the techniques that we talk about. But what I do care a lot about, deeply care about, is that everyone knows there's another way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a way that works with life instead of against it.
Work with life instead of against it. And, diet, how important, I've kind of talked about diet and how important it is. And, you talked about it with allergies, changing of diet. I know that sometimes my dogs had they were getting an allergic reaction where I think they lick themselves, they'll lick a part of their paw raw or something when they're having an allergic reaction to stuff. And a lot of it was just changing dog food. It's some of the cheaper dog foods, like never buy dog food in a store, grocery store. It was basically changing, sometimes wheat. I think it's wheat or oats or something that sometimes in dog food can be an allergen. Is that correct? You're the pro here.
Anything can be an allergen, actually. Yeah. So
Wow.
the more processed and the more further from nature the diet is, and dog food is about as far as you get from nature. Things become allergenic because it's not even about what they eat, it's about their immune balance. And if they're eating the stuff that triggers their immune system to have allergic symptoms, then you can have symptoms like licking of the paw or recurrent ear infections or scratching, and
Oh, wow.
and all that can be resolved often by diet. About 80% of the diarrheas that are food related and the skin things and ear things I can improve just by diet alone.
Wow. And it's interesting to me, like dogs are basically just like us. If we put shit in our bodies, if you put bad chemicals, alcohol, drugs, or, highly processed foods like you can, we've seen higher rates of cancer and higher rates of disease as humans. Well, dogs are just the same way, right? It's or pets are the same way. They're susceptible to, they're used to the reason the raw diet works in giving them high fat, all meat diets is really simple. That's how they eat in the wild. That's how they consume food in the wild. There's no secret to it. It's, I see these people that are always like, I give my dog carrots and beans and peas. And I've even seen people that painfully try and turn their dog into a vegan dog. And it's like, that's not that dog's natural diet in the wild. That's they're not sitting around freaking eating carrots and shit. Do you ever see wolves hunting carrots? It's not a thing. They're not out there going, if I could just get some salad here. Rabbits do that, not dogs. So I don't know if you want to expand any thought on that.
Well, when we rescued a dog I don't know if I can do this, but we rescued this adorable dog in November, and she's chopping on her raw meaty bone, and raw meaty bones are a way not only to feed them, but keep them from getting any dental problems. You've never seen a wolf in the wild need a dentistry. They're tearing the meat, eating the bones, doing things that our dogs and cats that are in our homes are not used to doing. I just spoke with Pet Burns this morning. This 4-year-old kitty cat is going in for a dental and extractions and blah blah blah. And what did I recommend is maybe before you do that, try giving raw chicken necks
Mhm.
When you hold a raw chicken egg for a cat to eat, they're actually brushing and cleaning their own teeth and stimulating their own teeth, and that's what Maya is doing with the raw bone right now.
Oh, no.
There actually is a veterinarian in Australia named Tom Lonsdale that wrote a book called Raw Meaty Bones, or Give Your Dog a Bone. Well, that's a different book, actually. But Raw Meaty Bones, or The Miracle of, feeding these bones. And he's got a lot of documentation there on the rawmeatybones.com website, I believe. The URL.
So as we go out, we've covered a whole lot of things. Do we need to do any more plugging of data for Path to Wellness, or I'm sorry, Path to Pet Wellness, your upcoming book, or any of the other stuff that you have going on that you're offering to people right now?
Well, I appreciate that. And, the big thing I think is that we'll be having a pre-order sale where people can actually grab the ebook and a lot of bonuses probably by late summer. So although the book itself won't be in the bookstores till Valentine's Day, or right before this September, you'll be able to grab all the bonuses, the ebook and whatnot. So watch for that. And anyone that's on our wait list right now will be able to do that right away.
And then you offer a 30-day guarantee with the money-back guarantee with the holistic membership, holisticactions.com membership. I really like the idea because sometimes, you have questions about what's going on. And I really encourage you folks to advocate for your dog. One of the things I see over the years, and I give counsel to a lot of dogs because people saw what Abby did, where she lived a year and a half. And then there was the other story with the cyst. And, I'll give them a way out. And I remember the one time I took Abby in, and I thought she was really struggling. She was about halfway through that year and 3/4, and she was really struggling to walk. And so the summation I made was, she had this almost golf ball size cancer that was on her anal sac. I could see on the right, and it was growing. And so my assessment was her back legs are giving out. She's struggling to move because that cancer is all in there, right? And so I, after a few days of her struggling to walk and get up, I finally went. I told all my friends, I go, I think this is it. I think the cancer is spread to her legs, and it's probably time to call it. So I scheduled a time to put her down. And I went in and I filled out the paperwork. I paid the money to have her put down. And, I said to him, and she was still eating. She was still doing good, but she couldn't walk. She was collapsing. And the doctor said, hey, I know you paid to have her put down, but can we look at her? Because we think that it's something else. And I go, by all means, Jesus, please, go look at her. And I really should have scheduled that. But, I was kind of in this dark zone that, people that make assumptions put you in. And, I've been fighting with the doctors for a year and 3/4. They were just always just shocked. And so they came back to me and they go, we're pretty sure it's arthritis. She has really bad arthritis. She was 14 or 15 by then. And we don't think the cancer spread to her legs. We think it's just growing and we can see it. And other than that, she seems to be, they're like, does she come running for treats? Yeah. Does she eat like a pig? Yeah. Is she drinking water like a pig? Yeah. Still doing that. Oh, that was the other thing. The drinking water has subsided once we started giving her the raw diet. It had, the one thing I guess people talk about on this, I don't know if it's factual. Don't start a cult, please, folks. But cancer doesn't like fat, evidently. It loves sugar, which kind of explains why everybody's got cancer nowadays. The blood calcium levels that her pituitary gland was being forced by the cancer to try and kill off her liver and kidney had evened out, probably because of the fat that was in her blood, or I don't know what it was, but somewhere she started living. So anyway, here I was ready to put her down. And I remember the guy said to me, he goes, listen, I get what you're going through. You're going through hard times with this dog. And he goes, but I'm telling you, she's not ready to go. But if you're ready to have her go, we can put her down. And it was like, Jesus, what a thing to put on me. And I was like, wow, there's sometimes where people can't handle this shit and they just quit on their animals. And that's fine. I don't mean to pass judgment or shame on anybody. This is your journey and your dog's journey. But I saw so many people that would just be like, I don't want to try the raw diet, Chris. I'm done with this. I can't handle it. I'm going to put her down. The doc says what they say. And so I love the fact that you're giving people resources. You're giving people the ability to advocate. You're giving the people to look for answers as opposed to just maybe taking the first voice they get and calling the ball.
Thank you, because that is just so important. And like you said, a little while ago, where there's life, there's hope, and that the universe gave living beings the greatest gift, and that is, life and energy. And we have ways of working with that.
So final thoughts as we go out for people who order out the book, get to know you better, all that sort of good stuff.
Well, that's a whole other podcast, Chris.
Well, just final thoughts. You got to give me the final thoughts and pitch out. Just go buy the book and all that stuff.
The final thought really is that it's all about love. There were 4 lads from Liverpool that told us the truth. All you need is love. Love is a powerful energy, and it's going to help you advocate. It's going to help transform behavior. It's going to help you bond closer. It's going to just fix everything. So,
all you need is some love there. Gosh darn it. So, and we all love our animals. They're just wonderful pets. So thank you very much for coming on the show, and thank you for your journey and sharing it. And thank you for helping educate. I mean, I've gone head to head with so many doctors. I mean, I had one doctor tell me that giving my husky, and my husky's a good size, giving her bones was going to kill her. He's like, how many bones I pull out of dogs that are stuck in their stomach, you're going to kill her. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe a Chihuahua, but this is a full-size husky, and I think she's going to be okay with a bone. And so, I've heard all sorts of weird shit from veterinarians over the years of moving around with my dogs where we're constantly at different vets. So I love the idea of what you're doing and getting people to advocate for their dogs, because it is, I think what I started to say, it's daunting when you go into a veteran's office, because they're the pros. You don't know what you're doing and all that good stuff. So yeah, there it is. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms as we go out for the final stuff that people need to know about.
Holisticactions.com. www.holisticactions.com. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Thanks to be honest for tuning in. Order the book wherever fine books are sold out there. Path to Pet Wellness, the Holistic Vet's Guide to Thriving Pets and Empowered Pet Parents. And please, folks, advocate for your things. Don't quit. I know sometimes it can seem overwhelming. I know it can seem a lot of work, but sometimes it's just as simple as diet. Like, it's really just that simple sometimes. And please don't feed your dog grocery store food or the cheap food, that garbage food. Treat your dog's diet like the same thing you put in your body. And of course, some of you go to McDonald's, so I'm not sure that I'm giving you, I don't mean that, but treat your body like a temple and treat your dog's body like a temple. Feed it good, wholesome, quality foods, and feed it stuff that it would eat in the wild. This whole bullshit of making your dog vegetarian, give me a break. I don't know what your thoughts are on that dog, but I just like, dogs aren't hunting celery in the wild. I've never seen that on the nature shows. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com for Chris Voss. Do you have any final thoughts, Doc, on that celery comment?
Oh, in my mind, it's very simple. I mean, you can have a vegan dog, but do me a favor. Before you do that, offer them celery in one hand and raw meat in another. If they choose celery, then make them a vegan.
Okay, if they drive a Subaru, too. If the dog drives a Subaru, that could probably give him a vegan thing. Anyway.
And wear Birkenstocks, right?
Wear Birkenstocks. Oh, geez. I'm going to get letters. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one of the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us out. Great show.